What is going on, everybody? It's Alex back here with another video. And today, I was planning on dropping my Steelers mock, which still might later or before this, but something very important has come out. It is officially ESPN mock season. So Todd McShay dropped his first ever mock draft. We're here to give our comments on it. So if you guys are like the NFL draft or are new, like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube jazz, and let's hop right into this. Let's not waste any time. Number one, Detroit Lions, Aiden Hutchinson. It's a foregone conclusion at this point. Aiden Hutchinson has just gone off. I'm excited to see him versus Georgia's offensive line this coming up, these coming weeks. It is quite a few weeks away, but still very excited to see what Aiden can do. Absolute animal of a player. Might be one of the top 3 to 5 edges in the NFL his rookie year. I'm expecting to see him just go absolutely off. 2, KT to the Texans. It's that or Evan Neal, whichever one that you'd like to choose. KT is one of those guys who is foregone conclusion for a long time as the number 1 player in this class before Aiden decided to shed weight as well as refine his game. So cheers to him. But KT is an absolute beast. I love him. Obviously, I think investing in the offensive line wouldn't be a terrible idea either. I do love Evan Neal at right tackle, but again, you do have Titus Howard that you're putting at right guard. Did draft him to be your right tackle in the first round a couple years ago. We'll never, ever complain about KT going number 2. Jacksonville going Evan Neal. I think we kind of know that these 3 guys are going to be the top 3 picks, at least in my mock drafts, which, of course, going to be dropping a new one tomorrow or the next day. We'll see. We'll see when the correct mock draft order is out. But Evan Neal, absolute stud talent, my number 2 guy in the entire draft. I love Evan Neal, love his versatility. He's super athletic. He's extremely huge. He's 345 pounds at 6'7". And I don't think there's anything really wrong with him. He just needs some more time to polish at one position. The poor guy's yet to play, I think, more than 13 games at one position. So, get the guy some consistent reps as starting spot. And on this team, whether it's a left or right tackle, I think he'll be a big star. 4 for the Jets, Derek Stingley. I think Kyle Hamilton's a lot more valuable of a pick. Obviously, this draft has pretty good value for the Jets in the second if they want to go safety. But, you can't complain about Derek Stingley when he is an absolute freak of nature. I would just say I'm not as high on Derek Stingley as many people are. I think he might be around 7 or 8 on my big board. Not saying he's bad. He might be honestly 6. Regardless, he is an excellent talent. Just you do have to realize if injuries start becoming a repetitive problem, you kind of limit the amount of value that you have, regardless of how talented he is, which he is an absolutely amazing talent. Number 5 for the Giants, George Karlaftis. I don't think this should be their first pick at all. First off, they have a next pick at number 7, which the Panthers aren't threatening to take a guy like Karlaftis. So the number 1 need for them is offensive line. We all know that. Every Giants fan in history knows that. Offensive line, offensive line, offensive line. Now, Ikem Ekwonu's on the board. I know that he's not nearly as high on him. I know the ESPN guys aren't nearly as high on Ekwonu, but Tyler Linderbaum's on the board. Kenyon Green's on the board. Charles Cross, if they're that much higher on Charles Cross, well, you might as well go and shift him to right tackle. If you really believe in him that much, then you should be willing to do that. Offensive line needs to be the priority at this pick, especially like George Karlaftis I'm fine with. I give George Karlaftis to the Giants. I'm 100% fine with that. It's just when you have a team like the Panthers next and you need offensive line, and the one thing the Panthers are going to grab is offensive line, if not a quarterback, you go offensive line, and then you still get the guy that you want, George Karlaftis, later on. But Panthers going Charles Cross, I personally would try to trade back. That would be my first move. But if that's not possible, then obviously going a star left tackle is the best option. So, I mean, again, you already know you're either upgrading at left tackle or quarterback. I think both options would be extremely valuable. This draft class lacks that true elite quarterback to kind of bring you over the top in the top 10. Just if you were in that 14 range, I would be like, okay, yeah. And like, especially if you're past the top 10, that's where I feel comfortable taking a quarterback. You're at the top 6. You need to make sure that it's a home run hit. Plus, I did like what Todd McShay did talk about. There's a lot of free agent quarterbacks that could be an instant impact, and a lot of them are probably going to be better year one than most of the guys in this draft. So number 7, the Giants go Nakobe Dean out of Georgia. I mean, he is extremely light, so I'd be a little bit worried about that. Excellent coverage and blitz linebacker. Really talented. I'm not mad at the pick itself, just you don't take a linebacker like Nakobe Dean in the top 10. This is not a 240-pound man running a 4.3, right? This is a team that needs much more valuable positions than linebacker. It's a team that needs to maximize value on every single pick. And getting a guy like Nakobe Dean at 7 seems a little bit rich, even though I do know these guys have a big affinity for Nakobe Dean, which I do too. I think he's an excellent player. Just when you're that way, unless you're Jamin Davis running in the low 4.3s, you're not going to have that same level of value that another player like an offensive lineman like Tyler Linderbaum would. At number 8, Falcons getting Jameson Williams. I think corner should be the priority here. Also, there's still Kyle Hamilton, if I'm not mistaken, on the board. So those are like 2 big whammies. But again, looking at the Falcons, if they go wide receiver, that is absolutely an amazing spot to go. Safety, if you have Kyle Hamilton on the board. Corner, you guys do have multiple left corners that you can draft in this class, as well as wide receiver and then edge. Those are all positions of extreme value. You guys could look at offensive line as well. But getting Jameson Williams is not bad on its own. Just knowing that there's guys like Kyle Hamilton on the board makes it a very big head-scratching pick, especially for a guy like Jameson Williams that he's finally just stepped into his own. And there was 2 years where he was not that great. So we haven't seen consistency yet from Jameson Williams. No disrespect to the guy, because I like Jameson Williams. It's just I would never slot him above Kyle Hamilton in my dreams, ever. But Kyle Hamilton goes to the New York Jets. I usually do pair up Hamilton and Stingley. So funnily enough, that's exactly what happens here for New York. Eagles getting Ojabo. I did this exact same pick. I think he should come out. And I think that if he goes with the first Eagles pick, I don't think that's a bad option at all. The guy shows flat. I think it was like Dwight Freeney. There's some crazy spin move. That was like a Dwight Freeney spin move. He shows flashes of some of the greats, and that's great. No pun intended. But this guy needs to come out. He was talking about returning because he doesn't want to be in like Aiden Hutchinson's shadow. I respect that, except for the fact that you're going to be going from pick 10, maybe up to pick 8. You're going to be doing absolutely nothing, risking way more than what you'd be able to return. Get David Ojabo, just get into the top 15, get your selection on a team like the Eagles that have an excellent place for you to grow and develop. The Raiders getting DeMarvin Leal, probably going to be what I'm doing the next draft. Absolute dominant threat. I'm pretty sure I did that in my last one, but dominant threat out of Texas A&M. I just think that he got really out of shape this year, and that's something that I'm a bit concerned about. Just doesn't look the same explosive self as he was at the start of the year, as well as last year. I hope to God he sheds a little bit of weight and gets back down to 290, because he was crazy athletic at 290. He looks like he's at around 300, 305 right now. Not a big fan of what he is at the moment. If I was drafting for what he is right now, I would be probably taking him mid-second. But if I knew what now understanding what he could be as well as what he was, I'd be drafting him easily within the top 15. Which here he is at number 11. I'm not going to complain about it. Number 12, Pittsburgh Steelers going Kenny Pickett. Apparently Kenny Pickett has a double jointed thumb. So thank you to whoever told me that, because obviously the hand size, it's like 8.25 inches. I have bigger hands than that. And it's like, obviously not I throw an NFL ball whenever I throw, but like there's an advantage to having huge freaking hands, right? Their hand size does matter for a reason. Otherwise people wouldn't be making a big deal out of it. I'm a little bit concerned about it. Of course, apparently a double jointed thumb makes it a lot easier to grip the ball, and then it changes your hand positioning. So maybe that could be the saving grace, but I'm a little bit worried. Kenny Pickett is, I believe, my QB4. And I know that sounds sacrilegious, but if I'm not mistaken, I definitely have Malik Willis and Matt Corral above him. He might be QB3. I don't know if I have Sam above him, but I'm a little bit concerned about all the hype that Kenny Pickett's gotten. Just there are some very big questionable plays that people are not bringing up, because a lot of people just want a quarterback to be worth a first round pick. That's just my weird gut feelings that it's starting to become a forced narrative that Kenny Pickett's balling out. He's done an amazing job and deserves to be in the first. He's a first rounder for me, but I think hold the horses in terms of this guy is top 10, top 5, top 3 prospect, where he's being drafted at number 3 overall. Washington at number 13, Matt Corral out of Ole Miss. I think it's a perfect fit for him. I think he's kind of like an upgraded Taylor Heineke. That's just pretty much what you're going to be getting. Better arm, better athleticism, a lot younger and a lot cheaper. Really couldn't mind Matt Corral being on this team. I think Malik Willis is a better prospect. However, I would never, ever complain about Matt Corral being on the squad. Philadelphia Eagles, Devin Lloyd, linebacker out of Utah. I can't complain about this either. I do think that corner safety is a huge issue, but again, you're getting a solid ass edge, because edge is going to become a big hole very soon. You're getting a very high end linebacker who's going to be a day one impact. He is older. However, he has been very polished, and he's going to be able to, it's not like he's 26 years old. He's going to be, I think, probably 23, 24. So you have him at least 6-7 years. You're kind of drafting to make sure your team is good for that length of time. And who knows, some of these linebackers will last until they're 34, 35 years old. He can do the same. Vikings getting Sauce Gardner. Love it. I love that pick. He's a mean, aggressive corner that is able to lock down one-on-one. That is my type of corner right there. I love him. Bengals getting Tyler Linderbaum. That would be the perfect scenario. I love the Bengals getting Tyler Linderbaum. You guys know me. He is my number 5 player in the entire draft. I love Tyler Linderbaum with a passion. 17, Broncos, Malik Willis. Perfect place for him. I have Malik Willis as my QB1. And that's because he has unbelievable untapped potential. You look at his arm, he has probably the best arm velocity that I've seen in my time scouting. So better than Trey Lance, better than Justin Herbert. This guy has, when he flicks the wrist, the ball just moves way faster than I've ever seen before. And I honestly think he, in the NFL, he will have better receiving targets and better offensive line and better running game. I think he'll have a better offensive scheme. So there's a chance that Malik Willis actually looks worse in college than he does in the NFL. I don't think people are bringing that up enough. He's an absolutely amazing prospect. He is older, but again, at Liberty, you can't develop that much. So he's still extremely raw. Browns getting Drake London. Wouldn't mind it at all. I just think you should get a higher ceiling wide receiver like Garrett Wilson, or Chris Olave. Drake London is an absolute stud. I know that ESPN loves Drake London, including myself. He was actually in my first ever way too early mock for this. So, could not ever complain. Drake London's a beast. I just would say, let's halt the horses a little bit. The guy had a season-ending injury, and there are some studs on the board. Saints getting Desmond Ridder. Couldn't complain about it that much. It just really depends on what the quarterback situation is going to play out with. Of course, right now, can't assume you're going to re-sign somebody after they have an ACL tear, but also it'd be a little bit sad to say that Jameis Winston's just going to kick the curb. He could be the saving grace for some of these teams that are looking for a quarterback. The Steelers, primarily, I think that Jameis would be a perfect fit, but regardless, Desmond Ridder's a great fit. I had him in the second round to him. I don't think that the quarterbacks will go as fast as people think, just because the talent level is too low. The talent level of other positions are extremely high, as well as the fact that a lot of these teams don't exactly, if they pass on a quarterback, you're not really losing that much value if you have to get the next guy down. I don't think the talent gap is extremely large between the top and the bottom of these top end quarterbacks. Like, the range isn't that large for first to second rounders. So I would be more comfortable grabbing a high impact player and maybe settling for a quarterback or waiting one more year. Just, this class is not the one to solidify your team long-term where you feel perfectly happy with your pick and know that's going to be a home run. Of course, we're seeing with Trevor Lawrence, nothing's a guarantee. Of course, Trevor Lawrence is going to take his time. Garrett Wilson to the Eagles. I used to hate this pick solely because of the fact that I kind of wanted for, oh my God, I cannot believe I just forgot his name. The kid out of TCU, Jalen Reagor. I was just praying that I hear about Jalen Reagor every day. It's so annoying that I just forget it off the top of my head. But Jalen Reagor, I was having hope for him. He just hasn't even done anything this year. It really, really hurts to he wasn't one of my top end guys. He was in my top 10 for sure that year. First year, I actually did this draft. I ever did the draft. So started this in April 2020. So obviously it was pretty damn close. One of my first videos had him as one of my top 7 wide receivers. sucks to see how he is not able to ascend to the next level. But Garrett Wilson is a very similar type where he's very good after the catch. Probably want to use him in the slot a little bit, but Garrett Wilson adds a lot more than what Jalen Reagor brings to the table. I absolutely love him. He's my wide receiver 1. So lock him in. Of course, I hit that. That's wonderful. Lock him in and be able to have a really good threat down the field, in the air, as well as on the ground. So big fan of Garrett Wilson. Number 21, Dolphins getting a chem. That is a dream. That is a dream. Everybody just lock that in. Dolphins, if they get a chance at Charles Cross or a Kemikwanu, Tyler Linderbaum, that has to be the pick, regardless of who else is on the board. I don't care if Kyle Hamilton's on the board. You make sure that your offensive line is okay. Kemikwanu is an absolute stud. I think he's in my top 10. He's definitely in my top 10. He might be in my top 6. He's an absolute freak of nature on the offensive line. Ravens getting Trevor Penning. I make this pick myself. I'm very happy other people are trying to make this pick. I love the upside of a monster, very mobile and athletic tackle. So awesome. Love it. Bills getting Roger McCreary out of Auburn. I dig it. Man. I know that I think that other guys are better. I understand that Roger McCreary's been an absolute lockdown this year. You sometimes just need to invest in that corner group. Offensive line, you definitely can go Kenyon Green here, but whether it's offensive line or cornerback, those are the 2 positions you should be focusing on for the Bills, and they're doing it. Big fan of that. Chargers going Jordan Davis. It's worth the upside. Jordan Davis is probably around 29, 30 on my big board. He's probably around like 30. Wow, big difference, Alex, right? 29 to 30. But I just really didn't like one rep I saw of him versus the Alabama offensive line. He literally just started walking on the field and just didn't put any effort towards one of the plays. That really scares the living hell out of me. When you see a player just give up mid-snap, it's just, you shouldn't win the best defensive player in the nation award if you ever do any snaps like that. The best players never ever give up. They don't ever take plays off. Jordan Davis took that play off, and you can say it's an overreaction for one play. One play could lead to many others. And when you're talking about a franchise interior defensive lineman in the first round, that's where it's like, it's weird. But I honestly can't complain about the Chargers picking up Jordan Davis. You do have run defense issues that you guys need to get better. But again, you have guys at right tackle, right guard that you can fill. You can fill those holes. Of course, Kenyon Green, as well as you could say Nicholas Petit-Frere. I'm not that big of a fan of him. Regardless, not a bad pick. I would just go elsewhere. Lions going Sam Howell out of North Carolina. I think that is a perfect fit. I really do. It's the right spot. I don't think Sam Howell gets past that point. I don't. You definitely could be targeting wide receiver, linebacker. I know a lot of the problem with a lot of fans is that they're saying, oh, well, the Texans should just not go for one this year and get Bryce Young next year. Well, the Lions are going to be probably tanking for Bryce Young if they're going to be passing on a quarterback too. And hell, if the Jets realize Zach Wilson's not their guy, then they'll be tanking for Bryce Young as well. It's going to be a perpetual, every single team tanking for Bryce. One team gets him. So taking a shot on Sam Howell at the end of the first is never a bad idea. You're spending a late first on a quarterback. If he ends up being amazing, 1, he's on a very cheap contract with a 5th-year option. And 2, you don't have to worry about that. You can maximize your value next year with getting a Will Anderson. Obviously, you don't need that, but you guys get what I'm saying. In 26, Titans getting Andrew Booth. Interesting going back-to-back first rounds of the corner when you can get somebody at left tackle. You can also get somebody at linebacker, edge. There's a multitude of routes that I'd probably go before corner, but Andrew Booth is very, very good. You've seen that. The Titans are looking for very athletic corners. Caleb Farley's an absolute freak of nature when he's healthy. So Andrew Booth wouldn't be a bad option. I would just say that the value just doesn't seem there for the position in need. But again, you usually go after best player available when you're in the first because you don't want to get totally hosed in terms of, well, I just got a guy because of need and he should have been worth a 2nd-round pick. Get the guy who's actually going to make an impact for a couple of years. Cowboys getting Travon Walker. So he's going to be an interior defensive end. Like that is weird because the Dallas Cowboys have 2 250-pound edge rushers right now with Randy Gregory and D-Law. And apparently Micah Parsons is going to be moving down there. That's at least what I've been hearing. So I mean, that's a little bit weird. You're going to be basically saying Travon Walker's going to play interior defensive line, and that's not what he should be playing. I feel that is, for one, something that I feel is not schematically correct. Yeah, Travon Walker is also, I think he should return again. This is like a late first moving up to like early first round territory for Travon Walker versus Ojabo, which is like top 10 already. Just, I don't like the schematic fit. Also think he should be going back. Packers going Chris Olave. I dig it. That's a really good fit. You get a really good separator for Jordan Love. Even if Aaron Rodgers will stay, get a really good separator. I will be perfectly happy with that. Chiefs gain Jahan Dotson. Yeah. Edge is still pretty damn prominent on the board. I always like to go edge for the Chiefs, but also you could go after more of a bigger wide receiver than somebody who'd be better in the slot. You have still Treylon Burks on the board. I don't know why Jahan Dotson at 5'11" is going to even offer anything to this team. He's not going to be running the 4.2s. He's not Henry Ruggs. He's not Jameson Williams. No disrespect to Jahan, because he's actually a very talented player. He is a second rounder to me, but I just think that people are, I just don't get why you would ever say that. It's just, they're trying to say that they're going to repeat the success with Tyreek Hill. No disrespect, Jahan Dotson's no Tyreek Hill. Cardinals going Kyrie Elam, that'd be a damn steal. Obviously, I think some edges are still on the board that'd be as talented enough, if not more talented than a Kyrie Elam fit. Again, cannot complain at all. I'd give that pick an A+ if it happens. Of course, whenever the draft comes out, we'll be reacting live. Patriots going Treylon Burks. I cannot see that. I don't know why the Patriots don't seem like a place for Burks to go, but if it happens, cool. I can see a guy like Wan'Dale Robinson being a really fun option for the Patriots, grabbing him. He's a nasty, really good hybrid player. He can definitely do a lot. And then, of course, I'm pretty sure Todd McShay put him as his number 32 guy. Cameron Thomas out of San Diego State. I studied him a little bit. He has definitely some flashes of high-end talent. I would never put him in that top 32. I would never even dare to put him anywhere near it, especially with the defensive players that have been already that are still on the board. I would never put Cameron Thomas in that conversation. That being said, he's made some really good flashes. So, of course, I'm praying that there's some tape that actually highlights exactly where Cameron Thomas is. Because, I mean, if there's any other scouts out there and San Diego State's at home or in their black and red uniforms, I think you guys can all sympathize with the fact that finding Cameron Thomas on tape is a chore in itself. He's impossible to find because all these dudes are like identical and their jersey numbers are impossible to see. Regardless, tangent ending right there. I think that there's a lot better value for that pick. There's a lot better safeties. There's still quarterback value. There's a lot better picks for it than that. But let me know what you guys think. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. See you on the far side. Peace.